Hey, good morning and welcome to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Bill Dixon and Jeremy Van Loo with you alongside the head basketball coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach John Everingham. Coach, thanks for coming in this morning. Appreciate it.
All right, here we go.
Let's talk about Lakeland. That's the only game since we last spoke and a big win for your Wawasee Warriors. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It was a big win on the road, and I know we'll talk about it, but we were down a player too.
Yeah. That was an opportunity for your bench to come out and play some big minutes. You got some, what I'll call, telling minutes in your bench there. I think you probably learned something at the Lakeland game about the other kids coming up.
Yeah, and Friday night too.
Yep.
We talked about the Concord game and having a chance to win that. By the way, side note, Concord's on a little bit of a roll. They're first place in the NLC, and so I talked to the guys yesterday about Concord a little bit. They knocked off Warsaw. They've won 5 in a row, and we certainly played well enough to have an 11-point lead. Unfortunately, came down to the last play, and we didn't knock the shot down. But I think when you kind of start to look around, it can be dangerous comparing scores but
anyone on any given night, that type of thing.
Yeah, but it does give you an idea. Concord beats Northwood in overtime at the pit. And so, we think we stack up well against the teams that we played against, here recently. I think we've won 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5, on our schedule. And Concord's the only one that we didn't win, but had a chance, had a shot in the air, to kind of steal that game at McEwen Gym. But that night, Caden Weldy played really well, 13 points,
super
knocked down a 3-pointer, and then we gave him the start on Saturday against Lakeland, and again played very, very well. He's very hard-nosed, tough kid. Defensively, he's probably our top 2 defenders. Out there, he has a little bit of trouble staying out of foul trouble, but he's aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And his confidence is starting to rise quickly, and I think you'll see that. A player like that is coming on. The other thing about Caden too is, we kind of. Even though we said it wasn't a demotion, he kind of goes back down, plays some JV minutes. And I remember over at Central Noble, it was his first time, playing some JV, and really didn't play well, on the JV even. So, sometimes that light bulb just goes off, and we give him some minutes on the JV. We did that with Ethan Hardy, a couple years back as a junior. And so I'm just really proud of Caden, for coming in and sticking with it and having a great attitude. Listening to the coaches, being coachable, and now it seems like as if we got a pretty consistent bench player or fifth starter in Welty. So yeah, I think you're right. At Lakeland, our bench played well. Adam Beer made some big plays as well.
Big plays,
tipping the ball out, saving possessions. I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but the play where at the end of the third quarter where the ball hit a wire that may or may not have been there.
I generally don't talk about the plays that the officiating might have been questionable on later, but I tend to talk about them at the time on the radio quite a lot. And
I do believe there was a concern that Coach Everingham might have drawn the tee.
I
could have.
Yeah, the guy was taking it out of the holster.
Well, he look. There's some things. Finishing my thought, Adam had that rebound put back right there. It would have put us up 6. So he's been in the right place at the right time a lot.
Yep.
And we're rewarding him with some additional minutes, and I think that'll continue. Now, I'll tell you just a little inside information. You don't, as a coach, you do not talk to an official who has his whistle in his mouth, because you can get teed up real quickly. And I made the mistake as I calmly was going over to talk to him at the end of the quarter. He had his whistle in his mouth, and he was just waiting for me to say something, and I didn't quite even get anything out of my mouth before he hit me with a bench warning. So I was very appreciative, that he didn't tee me up right there. I thought, as much as I disagreed with the bench warning, at least he didn't tee me up. But I did, those guys that were working those, we won't say their names, but they're really good guys. They've been around for a long, long time. All 3 of those guys are probably, state finals, semi-state, type officials, and did get an apology email
Did you now?
Come Monday. So I think I was really proud of myself and our staff that we stayed calm. Not every call is going to go your way. You understand that.
If you weren't listening, the official on the floor claimed that a shot touched the supporting file after bouncing on the rim, went up and touched the supporting structure on the backboard. A supporting structure that does not exist at Lakeland High School.
I kept looking. I was bending down. I thought maybe I was missing it, like it was blending in with the wall in the background.
Right. No.
Because I kept kind of looking, and I was like, I don't think there's one there.
Yeah, no.
So
there was.
I do have a question for you, though, because your young men have been acknowledged by the refs for being respectful. What if you would have gotten the basketball and took it over and gave it to the ref and was real nice about it with the whistle in the mouth?
Yeah.
Would he have teed you up then?
The rules last year changed. You weren't allowed to, unless it was way over the top in terms of a technical foul. I think the state of Indiana realized there was a run on some technicals with coaches, and so the rule last year, the point of emphasis was that you're not allowed to just ring coaches up, with technical fouls. You have to give them a bench warning first. So before last season, really a bench warning, there was no such thing as basically, because that's the first time that's ever happened to me. I was asking the other officials, now, am I still allowed to stand up? Can I talk to the officials? All that stuff. And
it's a call borrowed from football, because the football people have had it for a long time.
Yeah. So again, I have a lot of respect for those officials, all officials, and especially those three. They're actually pretty good guys. But when you're competing, sometimes you get caught up in the emotions of the game, and again, it didn't affect our guys.
Not at all.
It didn't affect our players at all. We went to the bench, and we had a 4-point lead, going in the fourth quarter, and then obviously we extended that lead, in the fourth quarter, and right there at the end, we're up 9, 10, and 8. It kind of fluctuated, and we missed 3 free throws in a row. And then just bobbled a couple passes on the inside, or else that would have been a 12 to 15 point win, pretty quickly. So it's one area that we continue to work on in practice, how to close out games. But we are putting ourselves in position to win games, and now like the final phase is just executing down the stretch.
I've heard a lot from visiting radio. At first, they come in and they say, "Oh, your guys look so flat. Your guys look so flat." And then after a half of basketball at the halftime, our guys don't look so flat anymore. They look level.
Yeah.
And there is a difference between flat and level. Our kids are just emotionally level. They, it's more so than any group of athletic boys I've ever seen.
Well, I think that goes beyond the the basketball floor. You look at, every year is a brand new year, and the personality of each individual team is different every year. So even though you got some returning guys, it's just a different feel. Every team's got its own personality, and so you usually generally look at your leaders and you see what type of leaders that you have, and Cameron Salazar, we've talked a lot about him, on the radio and during the season, and he's just that level-headed, calm presence. Especially, when things are getting a little hectic in the game, you just rarely see him with poor body language, getting worked up over anything, good or bad. And so, Ethan Carey and Adam Beer and Keaton Dukes is kind of the same way, where it's just kind of level-headed all the way through. And, I think that's a good thing.
Basketball being a game of finesse, it is absolutely unlike football, where you get some kid who gets all jacked up, great. Yeah. You go make him middle linebacker and let him slam into the line all night long. That works just great. In basketball, every position is a game of finesse. You can be over-aggressive. You can be under-aggressive. It's a case of getting that accelerator set at just the right point, and your kids don't have that problem.
Yeah, there's a plan. We actually, at the beginning of games, you can see the point output has been a little less in the first half, and there's some things that we're doing kind of on purpose, that we're really trying to establish the tempo. Again, I tell our guys it's kind of like a football team who's going out, you establish the run, you're picking up 3-4 yards, and then you hit them with a different style of offense. And so you go all the way back to the Northwood game, where we were trying to develop that, pedal to the metal, where we really attacked the paint. We really got in there, and we tried to draw fouls and get to the free throw line and score some points against them. And we did. I think we scored 48 points against Northwood. But the issue that we had there was on the defensive end. We just couldn't hold them under 50. So again, going back to the drawing board, now we got to get better on the defensive ends, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And so now you're seeing kind of all phases kind of come together, where in the first half of basketball games, in our last 4 or 5 games, really, we've established, ball control, being able to reverse the ball, looking for easy shots on the interior. And we do have a couple really good shooters in Dukes and Ethan Carey, where obviously if they're open, they're taking those shots. But everybody else kind of understands their role and what to do in the first half. And then halftime, it's always kind of the same thing. All right, we got to really attack the paint now. We'll try to get some driving kicks, get the ball inside to Collin or Grant. And so we've been scoring a lot more points in the second half than the first half, and that's by design.
To Bill's level point there, is this crew that you have right now the crew that says, Coach says this is what we need to implement, and we're going to focus on that, and we're going to get that done, and every week we're going to implement that next thing, building right up to tournament time?
Yeah,
is this the group that's really doing that the best that you've seen so far?
We do have a great, yes, we are. And I've been very impressed, because there are times, again, every season, the same thing. You start to kind of wobble on that track, and you're thinking, gosh, if this falls off the track, this is going to go the wrong direction, and we've had some moments this year, again, like all seasons, where you're really trying to focus on making sure that everybody's on board, everybody's staying focused, everybody's positive, and you got to commend our guys for doing that, because at Central Noble we had a stinker, and then we go on the road and give up 60-plus points to Northwood. And so it would have been easy for our guys to be like, hey, I don't know if this style is working. I don't know if this – but really our guys, I think – I've been here not forever, but I've been here long enough to where I think they understand that not just me, but the coaching staff, with Nate O'Connell and Chad Hofford, and that we really understand that we spend the time, we're watching film, we're developing a game plan. We're looking at individuals' strengths and how that works as a whole, for our guys. So, yes, they've been on board. Again, I will say it again. It really represents your leaders on your team. When we got guys like we have, that they kind of stay the course. And so we got 9 games left. We can talk about that next segment, but we got at least 9 games left. So there's a lot of basketball to be played, and we're still going to have a stinker or 2, and we understand that. But I think we're going to have some really cool moments as well.
Talk about your team health. It's been a bit of an issue as of late.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because at Bethany we had Grant go down real hard. He is extremely athletic, and he goes up, tries to block a shot, and if you just get bumped when you're up in the air, he got turned, sideways and landed directly on his hip. And his hip seemed to be okay. His behind was okay. It really was his back, how he kind of twisted his back, and so. We understand that he's an athlete. You'll get a chance to talk to him later in the show today. And we were going to be extremely cautious, making sure that we're not risking anything with Grant's future in baseball or any other sport that he's planning on playing. And we thought he felt well enough to play a game on Friday against Concord. But I made the call before the game started, in constant communication with his parents, that we're going to give it a go tonight, see if we can get 16 minutes, maybe 14 to 16 minutes, but we are not going tomorrow, which was Lakeland. Mm-hmm. That we're going to see if he does play tonight against Concord, that we're going to see how that back responds, to playing in a basketball game, a physical NLC game that we played in. And then, once we got into the next week, Monday, Tuesday, he seems to be back to 100%, which is really good, because that was a scary fall.
It was very.
Yeah. So everybody else seems to be healthy right now. We had one, JV guy in quarantine, but I think it feels as if, all of that stuff is kind of in the rearview mirror. Knock on wood. I hope, that they changed the rules with the 6 feet to the 3 feet close contact. A lot of our guys have had COVID already, so it feels like we're through that. We got 9 games. We feel good about where we're at, and we get a chance to go play some more basketball.
Fantastic. Coach, we're going to talk more with you in a segment coming up, but you've got a couple of young men you're going to bring in. We're going to talk to Collin Roberson and Grant Brooks here on Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Talking now to the post players from the Wawasee High School basketball program. Talking to Collin Roberson and Grant Brooks. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Let's talk a little bit about playing post for Coach Everingham. There are a lot of different theories and a lot of different ways about playing the post. You guys tend to play post as individuals. You tend to be one of you at the post or the other one at the post. You're not really doing the tag team thing down low this year. Talk about your approach to the post play and how that may be different or the same than past years.
I think we're trying to work on some high-low stuff in the post lately in practice, and we're trying to implement some post play where we're both active. But right now, it's definitely more towards that one-sided post play. With
the guards throwing so much up from 15 to 18 feet, that really makes rebounding critical for you guys. You guys have to play that board role and make sure you cover all that. Talk about the difference that brings to you rather than, of course, you're a scoring threat, but talk about how the play from the outside changes the way you play from the post.
I think the play from the outside, if they just shoot a three, they're likely to make it because we have good shooters on our team. But if they miss it and they're not a good rebounding team, it's easy buckets and then more likely to win the game like that.
It's a real focus, I know, for you to shift yourself to the weak side. Wherever the ball is going, you need to shift weak side, right?
Yeah.
And that's why is that? Why do you shift to the weak side?
Because I think the ball's going to go over most of the time, so I get good positioning for the rebound.
And you found that to be successful?
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Each of you are big-time athletes in other sports. First of all, Grant, why don't you tell us a little bit, because you're a big-time baseball player. First of all, tell us about your successes in baseball so far. What do you play? How long have you been playing baseball?
So I've been playing baseball pretty much since I've been able to walk. And ever since I was about 10, I've been playing some travel baseball, and I like to take it pretty seriously. So,
talk about what baseball has brought to basketball for you and what you've taken from basketball that you've been able to apply to baseball.
Baseball's definitely helped me with a lot of teamwork and getting to know your teammates better and that side of it. And basketball has just brought the competing side to every sport I play.
Super. And Collin, I know you play football. Do the same for us. Tell us about what football has given you that you've applied to basketball and what basketball has given you that you've then taken and applied to football.
Football has given me more toughness, more strength, and then basketball gives me my teamwork and then my work ethic.
Back in the day, strength training for basketball players was kind of poo-pooed because it was felt that basketball players needed a higher level of agility, a higher level of speed up and down the floor, and because of that, you didn't want to get what we used to call muscle bound. Your strength program for both of you is pretty significant. Talk about your strength program and what you have to do from a strength program perspective as a post player for the Wawasee Warriors.
I think we need to stay getting stronger, get more muscle, because it's really important to get rebounds and be big in the paint.
But what do you do for a strength program now?
I do whatever Coach Nyland needs me to do, and then I do my extra work, mostly core, and then I'll do curls.
And you do that during the season?
Yeah.
But there's a huge part of your strength program that's taken care of in the off season, right? How does it change?
I will work on my cardio more when I'm out of season to stay in shape, and then I'll do more arms and legs.
Cardio, that's that fat burning part that I never do, Jeremy.
I was just going to say the same thing. When you guys were playing middle school ball, whatever ball that was, and you're talking about in the weight room, when you were playing middle school ball, did you know when you come to high school that is going to be key and you were going to have to really work hard in in the workout gym to be good athletes?
When I was in middle school and I would always come to the games, I always saw that the high school players were a lot bigger. In my freshman year, I got the chance to play JV, and I would always get pushed around because I was a freshman and I was a small kid. And that's when I realized that size was a huge factor to basketball.
So in middle school, you saw it, but you really didn't know how intense that you would, how much effort you'd have to put into that.
Yeah.
What about you, Collin?
I think the same thing. I thought I would just like come into high school and like be big and like be stronger than everybody. And then I quickly realized that I would get pushed around and not be able to do as well.
You thought it was just something that naturally occurred. You didn't realize there was a program and a plan to create it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is. And, Bill and I, all we have to do is just show our faces, and we scare people right away. So there's the intimidation we bring to the table is not our size or our muscle. It's just the face for radio that
I make sure I work out with a 16-inch Pizza King pizza regularly, so I do all right with that.
Okay, so, and I'm sure Bill will get back to some serious stuff. I told you guys I wanted to bring some of the fun, light stuff to you. So the first thing I noticed, Bill, and do you notice this? We've got one with curly hair, one with straight hair. And if you've noticed...
neither one of us have any hair,
well,
so
I
that
know,
works great.
Especially me. But if you've noticed in the halls of Wawasee High School and probably around the area, there are the young men who have the curly hair on top, right?
Yes.
Like my son, by the way, to which when they wear the mask, I don't even know if it's my son or another kid. I mean, that's how... And then you've got the straight hair. So yeah, Gavin... Brooks, Grant, you've got the curly hair. Is that natural, or is that something you wanted to have?
It is all natural.
Okay, so you get a pass compared to all the other fine young men in the school. But Collin, you've got the straight hair. Why haven't you decided to go with the curly perm on top? The mop, as I like to call it, that my son has.
I want to be different than everybody else. I don't want to be like a TikTok boy.
Yeah, that's good.
There we go.
I like that. Well, a little side note here on Grant. I mentioned my son. They went to the same daycare facility, Bill, in Napanee many years ago, pre-kindergarten. So got to know that young man, and I asked Coach, that how did that kid get so tall? He was so little back in the day. And of course, Collin, I have your sister in our class, and I will tell you, because in her class we've got a couple of our student broadcasters, Gavin Gerke and Zach Bowen, and she talks very highly of you. She looks up to you. I will tell you that. If you didn't know that, you need to go home and hug your sister, because she's very proud of you. So I wanted to bring that up.
Well, obviously, basketball is not just a team. It's not just 3 teams at the high school. It's really a program now, reaching all the way down to the Junior Warriors in the 3rd grade. Talk about what you've done with Junior Warriors, because I know as a member of the varsity program, you have expectations on you on how you work with these young people.
So when the Junior Warrior program either has camps or sometimes they just have practices for their teams, some of us or all of us will show up and just be around the kids and help with some drills and stuff. And I think it's really fun, and I think the kids really enjoy it. So it's definitely a good use of time for the community, and I really enjoy it.
I know that, Collin, you're very active in the scouting program. Talk a little bit about your Boy Scouting and what you did with that. How far along are you?
I'm almost all the way done with it.
Which means you're almost all the way to Eagle?
Yeah, I'm almost all the way to Eagle. I really haven't done anything with it because of basketball.
Well,
and sports.
the scouting is built to be off and on if you need it to be for varsity sports.
Yeah, I think it's a very positive activity. It's a late night activity. No, not late night, but
Nighttime, after school.
Yeah. It's very positive. It brings you a good attitude, and it'll really help you with your outdoor wilderness skills.
Any concern now that we're starting to put people back in the gymnasium that the girls are just going to all come and throw themselves at you with 600 of them in the gym and just can't believe, because the post guys, they're the ones with the heft. They're the ones that the girls all want to be with, That's the way that is.
Well, I think having more people in the gym now is going to be great.
Look at him putting the political correct spin on my comment. I love it.
Yeah, but the audience can't see their laughter as you were bringing up the girl part of it. But go ahead.
Well, the other night at the girls sectional game, there was quite a few of us there. We made a pretty good student section, so hopefully the students return the favor for us. And having the band there will definitely be fun. That's always something to enjoy.
Are you a little intimidated, though, because you're not used to having this season that many people in the gym, and we believe that did intimidate a little bit the girls the other night?
I don't think I'm intimidated. I like having big crowds and having it be loud in the gym.
But you've done that before.
Yeah.
You haven't played varsity ball, though, prior to this year, right, Collin?
I played a little bit last year, but not much.
Well, but, okay, prior to COVID, the crowds were pretty good, so you have at least experienced it.
Yeah, I have.
All right, fantastic. Well, then they should be. I think those boys will be just fine as we get ready for boys basketball. We've got a game tonight, this afternoon at Manchester, and then Monday night the boys will host Northridge, and that should be some fantastic basketball coming up. When we come back, we'll talk to head basketball coach John Everingham about the upcoming schedule this week for basketball. This is Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. As we're back with the head basketball coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach John Everingham. Coach, a couple of great young men you brought in for us to talk to today, Collin Roberson and Grant Brooks, big pieces of your basketball family.
Yeah, when you say big, you're not lying, 6'5", 6'6", guys, and we talked about Grant's athleticism, and Collin's actually a young sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
He's 15 years old, and so really both those guys have been instrumental in what we're doing this year, down low in the post and understanding our offense. Again, Collin, spends basically what felt like about a half a season, on the JV, and at a certain point we just couldn't do it anymore. We just had to move him up and understand that there's some growing pains. There's a learning curve, when you're talking about varsity basketball, and so
there's a huge tempo difference.
Yep, and guys are bigger, guys are faster, stronger, and he's done an amazing job. I think he's averaging 6-7 points a game, and he's only going to keep getting better and better as he really starts to figure this thing out. Again, we talked about, Welty, kind of the light bulb going off, and I think as soon as it happens with Collin, and we're willing to be patient, it may not be this year yet, but sooner or later, it's going to go off, and he is going to be a force to reckon with. I think in Northern Indiana, because he can shoot the three. He's proven that he can knock down some outside shots, and then rebounding. He rebounds real well with two hands, secures the ball, but you can kind of tell his feet are kind of still catching up with him, and so you can expect big things from Collin, for the rest of this year and next year. And Grant, took a year off. To really kind of focus on his weight and strength program, for his baseball career. And then I think he got to the games last year and missed it a little bit. And so we welcomed him back with open arms. I mean, he's a great kid, and he just fit right in with what we're doing. So he's another guy too that's got a ceiling that's really high, where he can continue to get better if he wants to. If basketball is going to remain his thing, if he works at it, we could have two guys underneath next year at 6'5", 6'6". If they don't grow, if they do grow just a little bit, that certainly solidifies, those spots underneath, for us.
Coach Grant, he grew up with my son in the daycare center before kindergarten. He wasn't so big back in those days.
No.
And my son didn't grow to be as big as Grant is now, so...
When I first got here, I coached the juniors. I coached them as sixth graders. And I remember Grant virtually, honestly, not knowing what hand he shot with, because he's almost ambidextrous, He bats left-handed, I believe, throws right-handed. But in a lot of cases where he's throwing baseball passes in practice, he'll throw it left-handed. So he's got great vision, but I remember telling him as a sixth grader, I really think you can be a varsity basketball player, and kind of hoping, maybe he'd get up to 6'4", 6'5", and he did. And the icing on the cake is how athletic he is. His feet move really well, and so he's come a long way, really, honestly. And people don't know this about him, but he was on our sectional roster as a freshman. So he was in our top 12 as a freshman, and then again took a year off his sophomore year, and now he's back. So we're hoping to, get a good Grant Brooks, the rest of this year and into next year. And we're just waiting on one thing, and I know he is too, because he can jump over the rim and dunk it. And I mean, his athleticism, when he gets up there, he can throw it down with some power. And so it's one thing to do it in practice and nobody's around, messing up your timing or your steps or anything like that. But he's just about ready to get one in a game. And as soon as he does, I think, with the fans coming back in here, oh man, I'd really like him to do it at home and just ram one. We haven't had that for a while.
I was going to ask Bill real quick here. Do you think Bill Collin is the fervida with authority?
He's built like a fervida.
Yeah.
He's got that.
And we're going back now.
You're
that
going
name?
back to the beginning of Dixondom here. He's got the build of a fervida. He's got, to some extent, the mindset of a fervida. Speed-wise, he's about the same as fervida. The difference with Mike Fervida was that, of course, you did have the Twin Towers with Kyle Newcomer at the same time, but they didn't play high-low. They played each side of the block. So you didn't have the high-low opportunities that I think you're going to have with Brooks and Roberson.
Yeah. And I think, wasn't there another guy in there, Lambert?
But he was an outside shooter.
Yeah,
the
okay.
redheaded kid. Yeah, the redheaded Lambert. Man, he could put up from the 10-second line and go in the hole.
Yeah, that was my playing days when I was at Goshen, and I know. So they won that. That might be the last time that we've won the NLC. That when Newcomer and Fervida and that group.
Well, you've got the Beasley Scarberry years that came after. I think we won the NLC during that period of time.
They were
I know
very
we
good.
beat Warsaw at the sectional.
Yeah,
I think twice.
That team was very good. They're back in single class. They were ranked in the top 20. They only had one loss in the NLC, and I, kind of got to brag a little bit because that was to my team at Goshen. We beat them at home on a last-second shot, and then they ran the table in the NLC. So those were the good old days. But I do see some definite differences or similarities, with Collin Roberson. And the thing is, we could probably go back just a little bit, but there hasn't been, Riley Stichter, but some really solid centers. There hasn't been a whole lot of height, here at Wawasee. Phil, Coach Mishler running his up-tempo stuff was a lot of shooters.
Yep. Well, he was dealing with what was dealt him.
Yeah. And so it's nice to look some guys in the eye. Now I get 6'5" and say, hey, how you doing? Instead of, some guys that are, prior to those guys, the guys were under 6 feet tall. Our best players.
You're not short. How about your boys coming up out of middle school here?
I was just talking to my wife about that this morning, and so I was talking about the size of their feet and how tall they're going to get, and I don't know if they're going to get up. I think at my youngest, 7th grader, maybe will be the tallest of the bunch, but
it's all right. Your wife brought the ball up pretty well for the Wawasee Warriors during the heady years we had in girls basketball, so I'm sure she can teach them the guard play if you forget how.
She does. She does all the coaching at home. Will be honest. That's a true story. I'm the cheerleader. I'm usually the one saying, hey, mom got on you. She's just trying to help you be a better basketball player. So roles are reversed when I go home. I'm kind of the cheerleader. I don't do a whole lot of coaching, but she'll take credit for Shauna Zolman years. She was right before. Shauna was an 8th grader when Carly was a senior, and set that program up nicely is what she'll tell you. But they had a nice little run there for 4 years with Shauna, obviously. So
we got basketball coming up this week, and a lot of it. 4 games in 6 days. That we're gonna talk about that.
Now.
Let's just go ahead and do it now. All right. Yeah. So before we get into each individual game. 4 games in 6 days.
Yeah, and three games in 4 days with no practice. So we'll play today against Manchester, and then Monday against Northridge, and then Tuesday against Elkhart Christian. And the 2 of those games are ones that we really should be very competitive in, and not to say that we won't on the 3rd one, but Northridge is outstanding. Their guard play, the way they stroke the threes, we're going to have to be our very, very best just to even stay close to them.
23 threes in a game, 1 short of the national high school record.
Yep. That's, we got a game plan. We obviously were supposed to play them Thursday night and didn't get a chance to do that because of the weather. But, we have a good solid game plan. If they, if they play zone, we're going to try to crack them, from 3, try to fight fire with fire just a little bit. So it's possible. But certainly, today's game at Manchester and Tuesday's game at Elkhart Christian are really three teams that are really even, and so you look at the Sagarin rankings and the records and everything like that. I think Manchester right now is 6-7. We're 7-7.
Manchester 7-5.
7-5.
Yes.
So you got teams that are very similar. So it should be some good basketball. Starting with Manchester, they beat us here at home. Last year. They got a nice little point guard that's been a thorn in my side since I've been here. It seems like he's not ever going to graduate, like one of those guys. But he is a senior guard, and he is very, very smooth. Hit a couple huge baskets against us last year. They got a new coach and Coach Eli Henson from Whitco. Mm-hmm. But we were supposed to play them earlier this season. Maybe that would have factored into everything a little bit as they learn a new system. But we're later in the season now, and so you think they're, they got we kind of know who they are and what they're trying to do. I'm sure they would say the same thing about us. But they got a kid named Zolman that's shooting up almost 50% from three-point range, and we'll have to be really focused on him. A kid named Carter. That's their leading scorer, and then the solid guard. So they got 3 really good guards that we're going to have to pay a lot of attention to today. In order to win, we're going to have to play well defensively. And then on the other end of the floor, they play a lot of zone, 2-3 zones. So
shove you out to the perimeter.
They're going to try to, make us beat them, from the outside too. We can't allow that to happen. We got to get the ball inside. Man zone doesn't matter. So again, we're going to start Beer and Welty on Thursday against Northridge, but we're going back to the big lineup, so that's one thing. As we develop a bench, we can put different starting lineups in there too. So tonight we'll start the 2 guys that you just talked to, and Brooks and Roberson, and go with our 3 guards.
So, Coach, tonight, this is one of those situations where we're not going to be able to broadcast, I should say, today's games due to the fact of the girls basketball sectional here at Wawasee. And, by the way, real quick, Bill and I can speak for it. I know you were here the other night. We've seen some exciting girls basketball in this gym of the Hardwood Teepee. Yeah. Unbelievable. And, of course, this should be a good championship game. So we apologize to the fans out there that we cannot broadcast. There's just not too many. I only have one Bill Dixon.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just
he's big enough to make 2, but I've been amalgamated.
Yeah. So my question to you is, these afternoon games, is there a difference with the team? Do they play different in an earlier game as opposed to an evening game, or am I just throwing something out there that doesn't make any sense?
I know the answer to this, and the answer is nobody wants to play in the afternoon. I mean, in a normal year, you'd hate afternoon games because nobody's there. The buzz is not quite the same. There's just nobody in the gym. And obviously, where I'm going with this is that this year has been so weird that
it doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you play 8 in the morning or 8 at night. It doesn't matter. Once you get locked into the game, it's just normal. It feels normal. And I'll tell you what didn't feel normal was the other night, the girls' basketball game, the Wawasee, game, where the noise. I remember I was sitting next to Mr. Walmer and talking to Mike Deek, up in the upper, and we couldn't talk to each other because it felt like it was so loud in that gym, and the music playing and everything like that. And that's supposed to be normal, but we haven't had normal for so long. We don't even know what it feels like anymore. So, going in and playing an afternoon game where there's not a whole lot of fans is going to be just fine. It's not going to be that different than what we've been experiencing, throughout the season. Come next week, we got 2 home games on Monday, Tuesday. You got the pep band and you got the student sections, and there'll be more people in the gym. It'll be interesting to see how we respond to something that doesn't feel normal. Or the other teams too. Mm-hmm. So we went to Concord, and it was the first time Mishawaka. We went to Mishawaka, and it was the first time we heard a pep band. So things are slowly, getting back to normal. Hopefully we can kind of all move forward, from this COVID stuff, but you're starting to see more people, in gymnasiums, and it's certainly, I think the limit here at Wawasee is going to be 600 like it has at the sectional.
We had 600 last night at the girls sectional, and Tippy Valley and Northwood, probably two of the best traveling schools in the entire northern half of the state, and they were really noisy last night. They made a lot of racket.
Well, and what I noticed Tuesday night, Wawasee Northwood brought we both had a crew in there, but that first half, you weren't here for that game, but that first half, I think it rattled our girls.
Yeah,
the girls.
it
I really
can.
think it did.
It can.
I mean, because you're right.
That used to be one of the big step-ups from JV to varsity. Now that it's going to be a step up for an entire team because it's been a year since we've seen this.
It's so quiet.
It did. And, I think Coach Carpenter does an amazing job with his teams and with the girls. But you could see the coaching staff, too. It just was a different feel. You have to be able to take when you start feeling that and you could walk in the gym at 5 o'clock, start smelling the popcorn, your juices really start flowing. And so it's not just the players, the coaches, and it's going to be interesting to see, as we finish up the season and over the next 3 weeks, as more people come in, the pep bands, the student sections, and people yelling, it's going to be interesting to see how we handle that, because that for the girls was by far the most noise that they played in a game all season, and so, and for a lot of them, they haven't ever experienced that, so you think about like our young guys, the Roberson and Brooks, who hasn't played since he's a freshman, stepping on a varsity floor and really getting the feel for, when you got the adrenaline flowing and you're trying to take shots and you're trying to stay calm. But the good thing is it's not going to be like that just for our team. It's going to be like that for the other teams. So, I'm glad we got home games Monday and Tuesday, and I think the people will show up and we'll see how we respond to a little energy in the gym.
So Manchester, we talked about them putting it up from the outside, and they've got the big three-point shooter. Then we return home Monday night to do the rescheduled game with the Ridge.
Yeah, and that's going to be a tough game. We talked a little bit about that. Tuesday, Elkhart Christian should be about an even matchup, and then Goshen. It feels like, going back, we played 4 or 5 games in 7 days or whatever, and we won 3 of those 4. We will have a chance really to get another 3 out of 4. In all honesty, none are guaranteed. We could go 0 for 4, 4 for 4, or whatever. So it's going to be a great week of basketball. I'm excited for our guys because we've been off a week now, which is uncommon. And so we got a week here, 4 games in 7 days again. And so I think the kids are going to be excited to get started up again, and get after it. But we do have a tough one Monday against Northridge, and if we could start today with a win, that obviously would be really good for us.
Back in the day when I was a high school athlete, and boy, I'm telling you what, we're going back so far, recorded history does not make it quite that far back. But back in the day, I was a swimmer. They wouldn't let me on the basketball floor with crutches and canes, but I could swim. And we used to have something called a taper, where we would swim. Our practices, it was a different style of practice back then, but we would go 13,000, 15,000, sometimes even 17,000 yards in a practice. And then we would taper into the tournament, and all of a sudden those yards of practice would drop dramatically. Mm-hmm. Does having this stretch of 4 games in 6 days start to set you up for a similar kind of taper with your basketball team?
I'll tell you, I'm almost speechless that you're talking about this because that's what we've been talking about, tapering and making sure that I talked to Coach Mistler, who's got some, state class, swimmers. Both of his daughters are swimmers, and we're talking about tapering, with our basketball team, making sure that we go up, down, and making sure we're really strong. This is a nice week for us. We took Thursday off because we didn't play. We just took it off. And so I think our guys are fresh and ready to play, and we'll see today. Honestly, we'll kind of know today. Northridge is going to be up and down, and it's going to be a lot of energy. And then, again, talk to me on Wednesday, and we'll kind of see. But yes, we are using that approach. We are actually talking about that and how they do it in swimming and how that relates to the game of basketball.
It was really tough back then because the scoreboard was made of slate, so we had to replace it every time. They'd chisel out a new scoreboard after each heat and have to put that up.
By the way, did the young men who were working with you on the girls sectionals get your humor when you talk about, they
didn't understand me at all.
The cold
I
days
talked to
whatever.
Gavin Gerke last night about Coach Rupp and how they were using fouls. Coach Rupp would be proud, and he looked at me like I was from Mars. Obviously not a Kentucky basketball aficionado, but at the age of 14, I can understand how he might not recognize the name of a coach who now coached 100 years prior to his coming to the microphone. I guess I can understand.
Well,
that.
I guess we've got one more segment with Coach. We'll probably talk more specifically on these games coming up.
Very good. Let's do that. Coach's Corner here on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. And welcome back to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Talking to the head basketball coach of the Wawasee Warriors, Coach John Everingham. Coach, we're coming down to the final run at it here. We're about 3 weeks out from tournament time, and you've had to add games. You got the tournament in the windshield.
Yep.
How are you approaching all this?
It's interesting you mentioned that. I know we talked off air just a little bit about our practice yesterday, and you have to be able to manage the whole season, the season as a whole, and try to gauge, where your guys are at, and with last week basically being a full week of practice, it felt like we were in a good place. And so, Coach O'Connell and I are sitting around yesterday, well, what are we going to do in practice? And, we mentioned a couple things, but, you get into the season, it is such a grind, and you're going out, you're doing kind of the same old drills, and it just, I've been there as a player and as a coach, and when it doesn't feel right, then you don't try to force things. And so yesterday we were sitting there, and I told Coach, I said, we're gonna play wiffle ball today, just to really get the music playing and make sure everybody's excited about being here. So she had to make a few phone calls to get that wiffle ball bat, and Coach Doty helped us out, got that.
That doesn't
all
come
set
in
up.
your standard basketball coach toolkit?
No, it does not. No, but
Even Grant Brooks, the kid who plays baseball, didn't have one in his bag.
I ain't gonna lie. When Grant got up there to bat, I thought, I'm gonna strike this guy out. And I know he's a really good baseball player, as he mentioned, in his interview. But I threw two pitches kind of down towards his feet on the inside of the plate, and whiff, two in a row. And then I thought, you know what, I gotta get him out on a high fastball. And I threw a high fastball, and he hit a line drive over the fence, over the up by where you guys talk up there. So, yeah, he kind of showed me up on that.
Well, and I think that's why I saw that, and I'm like, is my equipment okay up there? Should I be going up there and double checking and making sure that wiffle ball didn't damage the green screen?
These guys, they're about ready. Grant is sitting here right now, and I'm telling you, okay, as soon as basketball season's over, last year I had an agreement with Cameron Salazar that I'm going to go put I'm going to put a baseball helmet on. I'm going to grab a bat, and these guys are going to pitch to me, and I'm going to show them that I can play the sport of baseball, and I'm going to crank one. Like he cranked one on me, I'm going to crank one on him, and it's going to be the real deal. It's going to be an actual baseball. Okay, side note, I'm probably not going to. He'll probably strike me out. But anyway, his fastball, it's probably a little different wiffle ball and actual baseball there. But we are going to do that this year. We had planned to do it last year, and the baseball season got canceled. So we never even got a chance to go out there. I heard Salazar's got a mean knuckleball, right? Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. These guys, Cam keeps talking about striking me out. So anyway, yesterday was nice to just relax, enjoy each other's company, compete just a little bit with the wiffle ball game. We did get some shots up and stuff like that. And normally the day before a game, you would never, ever think about doing that. But I just thought a positive vibe going into, a stretch here where we're playing, 3 games in 4 days was probably more beneficial, to our team than to just grind it out in a practice and beat up on each other again. Mm-hmm. So we'll learn a lot about our team over the next week here and kind of see where we're at, going into where we only have a couple weeks left. Now you talk about the sectional draw and how exciting that is. You got more people coming in, the pep bands, so it is starting to pick up now, where it is becoming really, really exciting. And probably the most exciting part for us is we're in the mix, so I think that there's nobody in our sectional that we're not going to believe we can win, we can beat. And so if you can beat everybody in your sectional, there's a chance to win a sectional championship, and that's what we're going to be striving for.
Your team is individually looking good coming here down into the end of the season, and you're getting really strong play now from your bench, and that's so important at sectional time because each team that you run up against is a little bit different. They're a little different mix they bring to the floor, and you have to be able, especially on the defensive side, to match up with them. So to have more than just 5 guys you can throw out there, really key for you.
Yeah, we're going about 8 deep right now, and Mark Wiggs hasn't seen the floor a whole lot yet, but he's practicing well. And so we're not afraid to throw him in there, but we go 8 deep, 7 guys that play regular minutes with, from the starting lineup for today and what we've had in the past, Adam Beer and Welty coming off the bench. And when you got a team that can go 7 or 8 deep, that makes a coach feel pretty good that you got places to turn. If guys get in foul trouble or if you have injury, sickness, whatever happens, we're going to be able to field a pretty solid basketball team. And so, and we're developing other guys.
The Finlinson kid, he's seen some minutes as of late. Definitely a guard, definitely a pure guard, but he's getting, I gotta believe he's getting 3-4 minutes a game. I think he did at Concord. I think he did at Lakeland.
Northwood, he came in and knocked down a couple shots. So we do have some weapons sitting over there that we feel good about. I feel very comfortable putting Jay in the game for a short stretch where if we're struggling against the zone a little bit, he is not shy about pulling the trigger. He knows what his job is.
But that's what you want.
Absolutely. And so I think we got our top 8-9 guys. And even beyond that, they know what their job is, and they're going in there and they're doing their job and their role to the best of their ability. So Jay knows when he gets in there, it's not a bad role to have. You go in there and you got to knock down some shots, and he's done that for us on a couple occasions.
Coach, I know that when I bring up sectional, it's out there, and coaches, they want to game by game. That's what they want to talk about, and that's what you work with your kids on. But on Tuesday night, we played the IHSAA Commissioner's Corner report, and in reality, there's several girls' teams that did not get to play in this year's sectional tournament because they couldn't field a team, COVID in the way, obviously. I don't know who those teams are. What extra precautions are being taken so that might not happen with us?
Well, we do. The school passed, a policy a few weeks back that basically 2 weeks leading up to the IHSA tournament, you can go to virtual learning. So we have several of our players that have had COVID and they're on a 90-day, relief from being close contacted, So I guess I'm not an expert on the area, but
they're immune because of their exposure for a while.
So they've had exposure. So I don't think that the guys that have had it are going to get it again, number one. Then number two, the guys that haven't had it yet have the ability to step away from in-class learning and go to virtual learning as long as they keep their grades up and they're doing all their work, that they can not get close contacted from anybody inside the school, which is not happening that much. And I think the governor just, released some information about changing 6 feet to 3 feet. And so as long as our guys, that are going to school, eating lunch and whatever else they're involved in are staying 3 feet away from the other people. We can't control, if somebody on another team, gets COVID and we become a close contact. But again, I think we only got a couple guys in our top 8, that have not had it. So, which means I'd say there's a very, very high likelihood that we're going to be able to field a team. But there are a lot of teams out there that are worried about that. Obviously it happened with the girls, and you don't want it to happen to your team or program, and you're taking precautions. But I think we're in really good shape to finish out here really, really strong, and not have to worry about COVID much.
Well, this week we've got, like we said, 4 basketball games. We're at Manchester today. We're home v. Northridge on Monday, home v. Elkhart Christian Tuesday, and then on the road at Goshen Friday night. Plenty of opportunity to come and see Wawasee Warrior basketball. We are allowing 600 people in the gym per game now. We had that with the girls. It was a pretty raucous time. Seemed like a wild and crazy time in the gym. I know 600 is much fewer than we've had in years past, but having had almost nobody in the gym, 600 seemed like a billion. So it would be great if we could see you come out and join us one of these 4 games, either on the road or even just at home on Monday or Tuesday night, and join us for Wawasee Warrior basketball right here at the Hardwood TP. Coach Everingham, thanks for being with us today. This has been Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Remember, we've got girls sectional basketball coming up for you this evening, as we'll have the sectional championship from the Class 3A number 20 sectional here at Wawasee, which will feature Lakeland and Northwood. Again, this is Coach's Corner, 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com, WRWTLP, Syracuse.